so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads out there. Thank you for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into another episode of the Positive Head Podcast, where we are firmly convinced that creating success and happiness is rooted in understanding the ultimate nature of reality and the fact that as human beings, we are all immensely powerful fractals of the one and only source consciousness, which creates and animates all things. Now, of course, understanding this powerful truth is one thing. Applying this incredibly empowering wisdom to everyday life, well, that's another. Which is exactly why we provide you with a fresh serving of soul food for thought 5 days a week. To help consistently remind you of what matters most. You are it. And I am your hostess for the day, Erica Middlemiss. I am the reflection and extension of you who will be here each Tuesday and Thursday, helping to ensure your perspective is consistently expanded, your vibration is constantly elevated, and that your heart is overflowing and full. All right, all you positive heads, welcome. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's always a pleasure hanging out and co-creating with all of you beautiful souls. Today's topic was actually co-created by a few of you. I've been noticing a topic come up in the Facebook group about toxic people. And so I thought we would talk about that today and how we can deal with those quote unquote toxic people in our lives. But before we get into all of that, I'd like to read a review. I know we haven't done that in quite some time, so I thought we'd get back on that horse. And you know how much we love it when you guys write us reviews. Let us know what you think, how we're doing. And we just appreciate you so much. And it also helps new people find us. And that's really important because to spread this message is why we're doing this in the first place. So we appreciate that help. Today's review is by Marcella Mondragon called A Joyous Part of My Morning Rituals. Much gratitude to you, family. I found this podcast while going through a valley and remembering to let go and allow the process to take place. And you've been an integral part of my morning ever since. Listening in shifts my energy and realigns me every day. Thank you so much for this beautiful content. Love you so much. Well, we love you, Marcella. We appreciate you and we thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to write us a review. I hope you're having an absolutely beautiful morning. I hope you actually caught this along your morning ritual. That would be fun. Okay, everyone. Toxic people. We all have quote unquote toxic people in our lives. And what really is a toxic person? Well, let's ask ourselves the question, are people toxic? Can people really be toxic? If we are all fractals of source, by calling somebody else toxic, we are calling another fractal of source toxic. So I think that we need to change this narrative, and I really think it has become a narrative. And it's understandable when we look at our lives and we say, I see this energy here that I don't vibrate with, and I don't prefer it in my life. And that's okay. But when we look at it and start calling it names like toxic, it basically creates a spiritual hierarchy for one, saying, I'm spiritually better than you. You can keep those icky negative vibes away from me. And it creates separation. We are all one here, all the dark, all the light, all fractals of the one infinite source. We all just vibrate differently. My grandfather and my grandmother had a beautiful saying that wound up written on the wall in their home after they died. And it goes like this. And I actually wound up written on my body as a tattoo years later. There is no one better than you, and there is no one less than you. Bottom line, end of story. We are all equal. No one better, no one less. This is a really important thing for us all to remember every day. Energies are just different. No better, no less. So, it's okay to not like somebody, or to not like what somebody is doing, or to not want their energy in your life. But you do have to love them. You have to love them in the recognition that they are one with you, with Source, with everything that there is. So let's make an analogy. We are all one big rainbow together. We are reflections of the one infinite light, reflections of that, creating all of these colors, parts of a rainbow. So if one of us is vibrating green and another one of us is vibrating orange, are you going to look at that other vibration of color and say, that's an ugly color? You don't deserve to be here and part of this rainbow. Get out of here. That part of the rainbow makes it what it is. All of these people in our life make us what we are. We've actually chosen these people to be in our life. So instead of calling these people in our life toxic people, maybe we can refer to them as our soulmates, because that's what they are. Toxic people, otherwise known as our soulmates. Don't let that trigger you. I know that's a hard pill to swallow. But we made contracts with people, with other souls, before we came here to help us learn certain things. So these toxic people in our lives are actually those who are helping us become the greatest version of ourselves. They are our greatest teachers. So when we look out at the world and we see energies that we don't quite resonate with, again, okay to not resonate with them, okay to not like them, okay to not want to be around them. Actually, that's good. Set some boundaries. This is what's okay for me, and this is not okay for me. And when you consciously make those choices in a loving way, where you just say, you know what? You're a little hot. I'm a little cold. I like being cold. So I'm going to hang out over here where it's cold. We're all just variations on a spectrum. Some hot, some cold, some places in between, but all one thing. So no one is better than another. No one is spiritually better. We all have our moments, don't we? I mean, how many of us can say we've never reacted, we've never had a moment of anger or behaving in a way that we don't necessarily think was the best? So the other people in our lives that may have been with us at that time could have been referring to us as toxic people. And when you look back at yourself at that time, were you doing the best that you could? Or at least you thought you were at the time. You were doing the best you could with what you had available. And we all do this. So what if you make the assumption that they are doing the best they can? Think about it like this. What happens when you tell a child that they are a certain way? And you tell them that over and over and over again. That child shows up in that way all the time, don't they? It's easy to see it in children. It's not so easy to see it in adults. It's not so clearly seen in our adult relationships, but same thing. If you continue to assume that that person in your life is going to show up in this way, that you don't like, they will continue to show up in that way. Have you ever had the experience of maybe someone thinking that you always behave a certain way, and you know that you don't always behave that way, but maybe that's what they've seen from you? And so every time they expect you to behave that way, and it's almost like there's nothing that you can do for them to not think that you're going to behave that way. It almost makes you want to give up and say, well, screw it then. I'll just behave this way if that's what you're going to think. So some people have that attitude, yeah? And I say, let's help them to be the best version of their selves. What a beautiful thing for us to be able to rise above within our own self and understand, A, this person is here teaching me a great lesson, and B, I can rise above and I can turn around and show this person who hasn't been that great towards me, I can show this person love, because I have so much love to go around for everyone. And I don't need to look at this person and look down on them and think that they're less than. I can look at them with compassion and with understanding and knowing that, you know, maybe they've been through a lot. Maybe their parents beat them down. Maybe no one taught them any better. And when we can bring that compassion into it, remember, we've all had our struggles and circumstances in life that can harden us. The game changes. Our perspective changes. And also remember that by giving it this type of negative attention, then all that you're really doing is giving your power away. And that's the last thing you want to do, is give your power away to something that you don't even resonate with. Why would you give it power, right? So you can take your power back by recognizing that you're giving it away in the first place, by thinking the way that you're thinking, by not recognizing the oneness and the love within all of us, no matter how negatively polarized someone's choices may be. You know, something I found interesting too is when I was looking for a clip on this topic, of course, I put in toxic people into YouTube. There are so many videos about what to do about the toxic people in your life and how to get rid of toxic people. And it made me really sad that there really wasn't many talking about this idea of oneness. Of course, I found Abraham, and of course, that's what she's talking about. So we're going to listen to her in just a sec. But I found which I'm not going to play, but I found a little 1-minute clip of Will Smith, and it was entitled, How to Deal with the Toxic People in Your Life. And I was curious about what he would say. He didn't mention the word toxic people once. So this is what I'm talking about with this perpetuated narrative. We hear one thing, but we turn it into another, and we have turned this into calling people toxic. And I don't like it. And we need to stop. We need to love each other, see each other as the love that we were all created from. So what Will Smith actually said in this video, he quoted Rumi, "Set your life on fire. Seek those who fan your flames." So he was actually talking about the opposite of calling someone toxic. Instead of saying, "You're toxic, get out of my life," he was saying, "No, I'm going to choose people in my life that make me feel alive, that make me feel inspired, that make me feel happy and joyous to be in this existence, instead of spending time with those who don't." Right? Different story than calling somebody toxic and saying, "Get out of here." Just like Mother Teresa. She would never go to an anti-war rally, but she would go to a rally for peace any day. There is a very, very big difference. The other thing that Will Smith said that I really liked, he said, Ask yourself, the people in your life, are they throwing logs on your fire or are they pissing on it? Exactly. Don't let people piss on your fire. Set your boundaries. Give some space. Show them love. Wish them well. With an intention of, you know what, this is okay for me to step away from right now in loving gratitude. So we're going to listen to Abraham, see what she has to say about all this. Take a listen.
At work, I'm in this small little office surrounded by some
Can you hear him?
pretty toxic people, and I just need to maintain a good feeling thought during that time and not be influenced by their combativeness. I guess.
Your acknowledgement of the toxicity of them is an indication of some momentum that's been going on.
Yeah.
It's just the way you see them. And you see, what's more important, it's not whether they're toxic or not is unimportant in this conversation. Your perspective that they are matters.
Okay.
Your perspective that they are is different than this perspective of your inner being. And that's why you are even able to call them toxic. It's why you even can pronounce in a negative way who they seem to be. Because your inner being doesn't see them that way. When Esther would find some reason to find fault with someone, Jerry's response, the majority of the time, always was, he would playfully say, "Oh, that's so interesting. They speak so kindly of you." And it was usually an inanimate object. In other words, she was talking about a drape or a stupid pillow or something, or sometimes a person. And Jerry would say, "It's so interesting because that car has always spoken so kindly of you." And without even really knowing what he was doing, because it was before we were really emphasizing seeing the world from the eyes of Source, or this vibrational gap between the way Source is seeing this situation and the way you're seeing it. You see, first you have to understand that as you are having any conversation with anyone, you're not out there on your own having that conversation, because you are an extension of Source energy and Source is there with you. So Source is having the experience with those people that you are calling toxic, but Source is not calling them toxic. Source does not see them that way. Source sees them as blessed. Source sees them as worthy. Source sees them as doing the best they can do from where they are. And their inner beings are wanting to help them find the path of least resistance, as your inner being is wanting to help you find the path of least resistance, you see. And so your perspective of them, even though we know they've trained you into it, we know you're just not making that up. We know that some people are hard to live with. We know that you're not making it up, that it's a knee-jerk response to stuff. And sometimes we say it's better to get yourself out of that condition than to let it beat you up all day, every day. All of these things are true. But most of all, we want you to understand that the negative emotion that you feel isn't about what they're doing. It's about your perspective of what they're doing. And you've got control over that. You could soothe yourself. You could soothe yourself. And as you do, fewer and fewer of those who are really vibrationally out of whack will come to you. It's a hard thing to accept sometimes. A sort of bitter pill to swallow. That whatever is in your life is coming in response to you. Whatever is there.
So Source and I had a little disagreement, and I'm feeling the toxicity of it, and I need to get more in line with that.
Esther says to us on a pretty regular basis, as we say, "Well, that's not the way we see it." And Esther will say, "Well, I think you need more information about it then." Clearly, you have not had the same experiences that I've been having. That certainly is true. That certainly is true. Here's the way to look at this. The power of your negative emotion is proportionate to your positive desire. If you were not really the lover that you are, your hatred would not feel uncomfortable. In fact, hatred could not even be defined if it were not for love. That's the value of the contrast that we're talking about, you see. So we want to make this less complicated. We want to say to you, if they're really toxic and you can do something about it, get away from them. Because it's hard to start thinking lovely thoughts about someone who's right there, sort of being a catalyst for the other. And so path of least resistance doesn't say buck up. Path of least resistance doesn't say endure. You say, "Well, yeah, but I can't just not go to work. The path of least resistance is also just not going to work. That's not the path of least resistance. We say, well, maybe there's a path of least resistance that says, go to some other work. Go to some other work. And maybe it would be easier for you to feel better if you weren't specifically with those. And maybe the path of least resistance isn't to do it right now. Maybe the path of least resistance is just to tell yourself that you could if you wanted to. Maybe the path of least resistance is just to stop feeling so trapped. Maybe the path of least resistance is to acknowledge that if you wanted to go, you could, or that sometime later you will, or that this situation is temporary. Maybe that's the path of least resistance. Doesn't it feel a little better? And then maybe the path of least resistance is to say, well, they're not as bad as I thought they were, or there are a lot of sides to them, and there are things about them that I like a little more than the others. And maybe the path of least resistance is to begin looking for a list of positive aspects about them. Maybe the path of least resistance is to begin recognizing that there are qualities there that are really worth noting. Maybe the path of least resistance is to find the power of your own mind and the direction of your own mind. Maybe the path of least resistance is to get feeling good and make that list and then notice what happens to the traffic of your life. Maybe the path of least resistance is to begin to find your own power, to recognize when you come into concert with Source that the power of your influence is stronger. Maybe the path of least resistance will show you that you'll zig and zag around them a little more, and that the most toxic ones will begin to fade out of your experience. And even though you're all still employed, you will find yourself zigging and zagging and not interacting so much with those who make you uncomfortable. And then maybe the path of least resistance is to discover that you're not uncomfortable at all. Maybe the path of least resistance will finally show you that you can stand in concert with Source feeling good under all conditions. Maybe the conditions will really not be important to the way you feel. Maybe you will finally discover what unconditional love really is, what unconditional life really is, what unconditional alignment really is. And all of that stuff that you thought you wanted to get away from may be the very thing that helps you to get there, to that freedom, to that only place where freedom is, you see. That's the only place where freedom is, because it's freedom from your own resistance that you're seeking, not from toxic others. They're just reflecting back your own resistance. Don't you love knowing that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
And aren't you appreciating him helping you to remember it too? Yes. Everybody's got that going on to some degree.
Yeah.
Yes. Enough?
Yeah, I think so.
Really good.
That's really good.
Really good. Yeah. Really good.
So yeah, pretty much, Abraham. So she said, it's your perspective of this momentum that's been going on that matters. It's the way that you see them that ultimately matters. You can change your perspective by understanding that your inner being's perspective does not view them that way. Your inner being, your oneness with Source, sees them as another self, another one with Source, no better, no less. Source sees them as blessed and worthy and doing the best they can from where they are. So the negative emotion that you feel with these people that we're calling toxic, it's not really about what they're doing, but your perspective about what they're doing. And that you can change. That is your daily choice to change your thoughts and your perspective on things. And I know it's hard when life has shown you things over and over and over again, and that is the reality that you see. It's okay to think a different thought. It's okay to change that belief system. It's the only way to so-called soothe ourselves, right? To get in alignment with this idea that we are all love and one. We can start seeing all the positive aspects about these people and these situations, realizing that they're teaching us about our power and about our sovereignty. These are the people and the souls who are helping us achieve our greatest accomplishments. Again, our soulmates. We should thank them and be super grateful for showing us just how powerful we are. And we have the power within ourselves to find the light in each and every person. Each and every person in existence has good in them and is made of the light. We just need to decide which parts of them we want to see. And it might also be helpful to remember that each one of us has an inner child that only wants to be loved. So the next time you're dealing with that, quote, toxic person in your life, remember that. Remember that there is this little innocent child inside them that just wants to be loved. And the worst possible thing you could do to that child is to push them away and tell them you don't have any love for them. It just perpetuates the entire cycle of more war and more fighting. And that's the last thing we need. We need more love. A little more love in this world. So let's love each other a little bit more, everyone. See the light. Be the light. I love you all. I'm going to leave you with a song for the day. This is Mike Love featuring Paula Fuga, Trevor Hall, and Nako. Love will find a way. Till next time, everyone.
I wanna be good, I wanna do better. Wanna live long, be strong, but I know I won't live forever. So while I'm alive, I'm gonna make a spark. And I hope that my life will be a light shining bright for those who are lost in the dark. I wanna give love, I wanna have patience. I wanna feel the animal within me while like the wind but gracious. Gonna clear my seeds, I'm gonna watch them grow. And I hope that my forest will restore in us a chorus that was lost long ago. Feel the fire burning, I know the tide is turning our way. Though the skies might be gray, in the distance I can see the sun has got to break through someday. And all that's left to see is love will find a way. I wanna hear my people singing songs of redemption, singing songs of the truth, singing songs of the peaceful warrior nation, singing songs to the gods of love and thankfulness. 'Cause we are alive and we're striving to thrive and we know that we're blessed. Yeah. 'Cause we are the ones who come to wipe away the poison that's been seeping into the heart, that's keeping us apart. Under the heart of the matter, all you're gonna find out is that all that matters is the heart. And at the end of the day, love will find a way. Now we're gonna get anywhere, and everybody's running the place. All we run, all we just scared but none of come face to face. Have to face the things that we've done. Come to terms with what we become. Come around and fix our mistakes. Only enough to find a way. When the walls are running and that deadline's leaving on, when that dead comes falling and the sky's falling from above, you can always count on love.
Wanna make angels in the snow, dip my toes in the eternal fountain. I'm gonna see the truth, and though I've told some lies, gonna wear my heart on my sleeve for you to believe the honesty in my eyes. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na.
Like a white dove of peace on the battlefield. Like a hunger homeless mansion when there's only me. Like a man the doctor said would die, but he was healed and all it did was pray. Love will find
like a sunbeam breaking through the storm clouds. Like an innocent prisoner breaking out. Like a warrior who wants to run in the face of fear, but he chooses to stay. Love will find
like
a way.
Like a rose growing out of the concrete. Like a man running marathons in no feet. Like a single mother working 3 jobs just to put food on the plate. Love will find a way.
Like a deaf man composing a symphony. Like an activist who chains himself up to a tree. Like a man who quits his job to follow his dreams without a penny to his name. Love will find a way. Love will find a way.
Love will find a way.
Love will find a way.
Love will find a way.
Love will find a way.
Love will find a way.
And like a farmer growing crops in the desert sand. Like a masterpiece painted with a crippled hand. Like a surfer towing and wearing a grin into a 60-foot wave. Love will find
like a
way.
guitar player playing till his fingers bleed. Like a piano man with arthritis playing till 3. Like a singer who was hoarse but he still forces himself to take the stage. Love will find a way.
Like a blind man seeing for the first time. Like a songwriter finding meaning in a rhyme. Like a poet who uses words as weapons and lives to fight another day. Love will find a way.
Like a winter of a summer breeze. Like a child turning your dreams into realities. Like a place where race, religion, sex, or creed or class don't ever need. Love will find